Hi there. This is my video assignment requirement for assignment 2I, New Testament Literature, Pauline Epistles. I'm going to attempt to defend my position regarding the authorship of Paul's letters. You will have to forgive any background noise you hear. We are having our church re-roofed today. It's not the apocalypse. So here we go. First thing I'll say is this. I'm not sure I feel the need to defend a single position on this subject. Secondly, I'm not sure I feel the need to defend anything. Finally, I want to offer my concerns on this subject. Concerns that can be picked full of holes by students of Scripture that are probably far brighter than me, but I'll still share my concerns with this subject in general. First, I'm not sure I have a position. After having researched the subject of biblical scholarship, not just in Paul's works, but in many other works of Scripture, I can't say that there is one single position that can be arrived at on this subject. There is, of course, a number of academic perspectives on the subject of Paul's letters. Briefly stated, some letters seem authentic, some seem Deutero-Pauline, meaning a later disciple of Paul's tradition wrote them and ascribed them to Paul, and some others may be agenda-driven products of later generations ascribed to Paul, like with Ephesians, which some believe to be a product of the early Catholic Church. My point is this: there are many positions to be considered here, and I doubt that any serious academic can sum up their perspective on Paul's works with one simple explanation. It's one of those situations where the more we learn, the less we know. I am still seeking the simplicity beyond complexity on this subject. So to summarize, first, I'm not sure I have a position. Second, I'm not sure I feel the need to defend a single position. Not only do I not have a position, I just don't see the point in trying to defend it. To defend a single position on the subject of Pauline authorship, it reeks of fundamentalism. The type of fundamentalism that most of us are familiar with generally refers to an overly simplified, uninformed, fear-based model. However, I think there is a fairly good argument to be made that many other camps practice a form of fundamentalism. It's just that their fundamentals are different. Take the Tübingen school, for instance. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's referred to a number of times in the Carson and Moo text in the assigned reading. The Tübingen school rejects 1 Thessalonians as Pauline, even though few others in academia have followed them, at least according to Carson and Moo. Also, the Tübingen school alone rejects Philemon as authentic, even though it appears to be the most personal of Paul's letters. Turns out the Tübingen school was started by a guy named Ferdinand Bauer. This is what I found in a little bit of external research I've done. It's started by this guy, Ferdinand Bauer, whose whole starting point on the subject of biblical scholarship included the idea that Paul was not only an apostate, but that his whole school of thought was heresy. So if these beliefs are your fundamentals concerning Paul, then these beliefs are going to flavor every single conclusion you come to. This is one of those examples that everybody is a fundamentalist. It's just that we have different fundamentals. So I'm not sure I feel the need to defend a single position here, just based on how vast the subject is and based on how much fundamentalism there is floating around on the subject of biblical scholarship. Defending a position is one of those things regarding biblical scholarship that I honestly find a little bit exhausting. Third, my concerns with the subject of defending a single perspective on Pauline authorship. To defend one perspective or another on this subject reinforces what I believe is a giant problem with the way that we read the Bible. And the problem is this: there is a giant chasm between the church and the academy. Depending on a practitioner's denomination or a theological camp, taking an academic perspective back to your church might get you in a bit of hot water. For instance, how many NAB churches can you walk into and begin a sermon series on the book of Ephesians by saying, to be honest, we're not sure Paul wrote this. You might be able to bring it up as one of the main theories, but you'd better not land there, at least not from the pulpit. It reminds me of the film version of Don Miller's Blue Like Jazz, to paraphrase a line from that film. One of the characters says, "Feel free to ask all the questions, just be sure you always come to the same conclusions." My issues with the academy are pretty concerning as well. We all know the joke about seminary being called cemetery, as it's the place where our faith goes to die. So here's the question. Why are our practitioners hearing things like authorship theories for the first time when they go to our institutions of higher learning? Aren't we doing a great disservice to our people by waiting this long to expose them to what might be the facts on these subjects? I guess a reasonable argument can be made for not spending a ton of time on stuff like Pauline authorship from the pulpit, but we can at least cover this stuff in Sunday school, can't we? But in more conservative traditions, we choose to not even mention issues like authorship theories. And what does this accomplish? Well, it not only dumbs down our own tradition, but it sets up our people to either be willfully ignorant when confronted with previously unheard theories, or, equally bad, our people end up being so devastated by these theories that they walk away from the faith. I have witnessed both reactions, and they both make me very sad. So far during my Sioux Falls education, I have been pleasantly surprised by the academic freedom that the program has to expose its students to all the information like authorship on various books of the Bible. We've been exposed to all the information, not just the simplified versions of information, and I thank God for that. It's just that I would need something like divine intervention to share what I've learned in the church. Thanks very much.